Now, let's go to the label. You'll notice that this one they have said it can fight class A, class B, and C. This one can only fight B and C. What is the difference? And what is B and what is C? Okay? So let's go through what we call classes of fire. And then we'll be able to understand why you have different types of extinguishers. So to make it very simple, like a nursery class, I want you to say A for ashes. Anything that burns and leaves behind ash is in class A fires. We are talking about hair, clothing, wood, leaves. Anything that you burn and it leaves behind ash, that is in class A, including human beings. I know that is insensitive here, but yes, it is in class A. I want you to say B for boiling. Yani ukisahau wachane na mambo ya fire. B for boiling. When I say boiling, what comes to your mind? Liquids. So class B fires are mostly flammable liquid fires. You're looking at petrol, you're looking at thinners, you're looking at paints, you're looking at oils, you're looking at liquids that burn and that are flammable mostly. That is in class B. Then class C, depending on the classification you're using, because here normally there's a confusion. There's a school of thought that says C for current, where we say C is a class of fire, where you talk about electricity. Some say no, C should be for gases. So there might be a confusion there. And when you're looking at the gases, you're looking at all combustible gases. Butane, propane, methane, your LPG, the way you know it, your gas yenye unapika nayo nyumbani, that is in class C according to certain classifications. But certain classifications will also say C is for current. But now let's first of all get concurrence on this. I'm of the school of thought that says electricity should not be a class of fire. Let me explain. In this room, I'm using electricity. If I have an electrical fault, and that electrical fault leads to a fire of the carpet, a fire of the cabinets, a fire of the curtains, what class of fire am I dealing with? Curtains are in class A, right? The furniture is in class A. The carpet is in class A. But the fire has come from an electrical fault. Now, how should I handle that fire? Should I deal with it as a class A fire, or should I deal with it as an electrical fire? As long as there is electrical current flowing, it remains an electrical fire. And the reason I'm saying this is because class A fires are best extinguished using water. But if the fault of electricity is what has caused the fire, it is an electrical fire. What happens if you use water in an electrical fire? Luere, right? So you cannot use water to extinguish an electrical fire. It only becomes class A fires once we have gone to the electrical mains na tuzime stima. Once we've turned off power completely, and even the backup, whether it is a generator or your solar inverters, everything is off. No electricity in that house or in that space. What you're dealing with now is a class A fire, because what is burning is a carpet, what is burning is a curtain, what is burning is your furniture. So that is where the school of thought that says electricity is not a class of fire, and I tend to agree with them. Because if I switch off power, can I still say I have an electrical fire? No. What I have is a different class of fire, which is why they say you do not classify electrical fires. You just call them electrical fires. Sawa sawa? Najua kuna watu nimechanganya kidogo hapo. Then we have B. Class B is for metals. When you see a metal burning, that is in class C fire. You remember in chemistry, we used to have metals that burn. You know those metals in the periodic table? You had potassium, you had magnesium, and then you had sodium. And there's one actually that was actually exploding when it's on fire or something. Those are metals. When metals are burning, they are in class B fires. Then you have another unique class of fires, which we call K/F. Why K/F? The reason others call it sofas and the other ones call it couch. Some call it washrooms, some call it toilets. So just a confusion between two English sides that cannot agree what to call something, gas versus petrol, you know. Good. So K or F, depending on whether it's American or British that you're talking about, but they refer to the same class of fire. Which fires are these? These are grease, cooking grease fires. Why is it unique? Let me ask you. Do you think you can boil petrol if you get temperature 300 degrees Celsius? No, it's not possible. Okay? But it's a liquid. So that cooking oil you're using to cook, why is it not in class B fires? We said B is flammable liquids that cannot even reach the temperatures that your cooking oil gets to when you're cooking your mandazi, your sausages, etc. So it presents a very unique class of fire. And therefore, all these extinguishers we have here are not effective against a fire that has started in a deep fryer, and particularly within commercial kitchens. So what do you need? There's a special type of extinguisher that we call a wet chemical type extinguisher. It does what, let me tell you what it does. It is, when you say wet chemical type, so it means it's a chemical reaction that introduces in the fats or the greases that are on fire, what we call saponification. You remember when you have done your very fatty meal, umekula nyama choma, your hands are full of mafuta. When you take soap and wash your hands, there's something that looks like milk that drips off your hand as you start. As the mafuta is katakatwad, in that process that we call saponification, what soap does to that mafuta is what that chemical extinguisher does to a grease fire. So it disintegrates it, denatures the chemical structure so that it turns off the fire. I don't want to be too technical, but I'm telling you, easy. If you have a commercial kitchen, no umeweka CO2, umeweka DCP, you're not ready for your fire in the kitchens. And that is a reality. All right, so we come back. So we've said we have class A for ashes, B for boiling, C for flammable gases, and some will say C for current. But for me, I am C for flammable gases and electrical fires as a separate fire that we just call electrical fires. And then we have D, which I've said is metals. And then K or F. So you can go with F or you can go with K. And those are grease fires, particularly for commercial kitchens, because that is where you have the oil is hot throughout the time. Because when you come order your chips, the chips is sort of half ready, what they call blanching. All they need to do is dry it in the fat and serve it to you in a few minutes. Good. So those are the different types of extinguishers.